Welcome back to Life's Chillent. My name is Avital, and today we have a very special guest with us, Carmen Cohen, who is the director of the Jewish community of Rhodes in Greece, which is our destination for today. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you for the invitation.
Of course. Let's start with you. Where are you from, and how did you end up being the director of the Jewish community of Rhodes?
I am from Volos, which is a city in Greece between Athens and Salonika. I came here 40 years ago when I got married because my husband was living in Rhodes. And I have been in charge of the community the last 25 years.
Wow, that's amazing. And the Jewish history in Rhodes seems to be quite old.
Yes, the existence of the community in Rhodes is since the 2nd century BC.
2nd century. So I don't know if you know the history all the way back, but you can definitely, I would love to hear about it if you can share some of the history of the community of Rhodes, dating back maybe to the 2nd century BCE, but also, I know the synagogue, I believe, is from 1577, which makes it the oldest.
Yes, it's one of the oldest in Greece, and I think one of the oldest in Europe.
Wow. Wow.
And actually, it's one of the 4 synagogues that existed in the island before the Second World War, and the only one who is still functioning partly.
Right. That's amazing. So yeah, if you don't mind, please go ahead and share some of the history.
Okay, as I told you, the existence of the Jews in Rhodes is since the 2nd century before Christ, which they were Romagnot Jews. That means Jews from the Roman Empire speaking a language which was called Yavanik. It was a mixture of Greek and Hebrew. Later on, the community actually became bigger after 1512, when the Ottomans took over the island, and they brought families who lived in the Ottoman Empire, and they were from Spain. He brought here Sephardic Jews, and actually the Jews, they were living in the old city next to the Ottomans, and the Greeks lived outside the walls of the old city. These Sephardic Jews, they were much more than the Romagnot Jews, so they absorbed the Romagnot Jews and they changed the character of the community. So we are talking after 1512 for a Sephardic community in Rhodes. This community, as I told you, lived mainly in the old city. It became one of the most important communities in the Mediterranean because of the position of the island that was between the East and the Europe and all this. There was a rabbinical college in Rhodes installed that rabbis, people, they were coming to become rabbis from Europe and from Asia. The maximum of the community was approximately 7,000 people, but regarding to the local population, the Jews were almost 1/3 of the local population. As I told you before, in the old city, there were 4 synagogues and 2 yeshivot. That means that it was a quite big community. In 1930, for economical reasons, people started to immigrate, not only Jews from Rhodes, but also Greeks. They had to start immigrating. And this immigration movement became bigger during 1938, when the Italians imposed the racial laws for the Jews. So we came up to 1940-41 when the Germans took over, that the local community was approximately to 2,500 people. all this number of the local population on the 23rd of July 1944 was deported to Auschwitz-Birkenau, including 100 people from the island of Kos. So that was actually the end of the Jewish community in Rhodes. From this number of people, the 2,500 who left Rhodes on the 23rd of July 1944 and arrived in Auschwitz on the 16th of August, only 151 survived. Because we have copies of the record of Auschwitz-Birkenau, we know that the same day they arrived, 1,900 went to gas chambers the same day. So the people who survived, except a couple families that came back to Rhodes, never returned to Rhodes. They went to find family, relatives. They didn't find any reason to go back to Rhodes. And also, I forgot to tell you that only 40 people from the local population managed to avoid deportation, as they were saved by the Turkish consul on the island, Selahattin Ulkmen, at that period. Turkey and Germany, they had good relations. They were allies at that period. So these 40 members of the community who had Turkish passports, the Turkish consul asked to be left behind, so they were not deported. So that was the end of the community. It was later on in 1956-57 that the Jewish Central Board of Greece put an announcement and asking for families who wanted to move to Rhodes from the mainland of Greece in order to restart the community. And that's how the community restarted, and now around 1956-57, with a quite big number of families. But later on, the families grew up, the economical situation was better, children grew up, went to study, and never came back to Rhodes. So actually, the community now has only around 20 members. As I told you before, the synagogue Kahal Shalom, it's the only one out of the 4 that we had in the past. The other ones, either they were destroyed or they changed use. And it was built in 1577. In 2000, was nominated by the World Monument Fund as one of the 100 monuments in the world that they must be remain and restored. And that is the reason that it is visited as a historical site. And we turned the part of the synagogue which used to be the women's section. Now it is our museum. We have installed there a museum. We are open daily from April until October, and we receive approximately 30,000 visitors. And during the summer, we host every year's weddings, bar mitzvahs from people from abroad, mainly people who have connection with Rhodes. They are second, third generations from Rhodes, but also from visitors that they want to have a ceremony in this old high holidays. Of course, we bring a Hazan from Israel and we hold services because, as I told you, we have a lot of visitors.
It's a very interesting history and quite a shame that such a vibrant Jewish population was really decimated by the Holocaust and has struggled since to rebuild. The 20 families who are there today, are they mostly people from that 1950s sort of
Yes,
trial
yes,
to bring people
yes,
back?
yes, yes.
And do you have any families who are from other countries who have decided to come live in Rhodes, or it's
The last few years is very common, but it's people that they are ready to retire and they decided to have a summer house in Rhodes and they come and go until they retire. But we have some people from abroad.
okay?
That I don't count in the local population because they don't live regularly in Rhodes.
Well, that makes sense. And again, in those 20 families, are they mostly an older generation at this point?
Unfortunately, yes. Yes.
So I'm just thinking you've already mentioned some, but what are some of the struggles that the community in Rhodes faces? I mean, I recognize that you don't have a rabbi all of the time and that it's a smaller aging population. Can you expand on that a little bit?
This is the problem, that there is no rabbi. Whatever happens, we have to call the rabbi from Athens. But this is very, let's say, common in many communities in Greece because the population is Greek in Greece. The Jewish population is small, except the two big communities, Rhodes and Salonika. The rest of communities, for many occasions, they have to call a rabbi. So this is not actually a very big problem, but mainly is that we are trying to survive, to keep this place open for many reasons, to make known to the visitors, because mainly our visitors are not all of them Jewish. 70% of the visitors of the synagogue and the museum are not Jewish. And through the museum, the synagogue, we make known to the public our local history, but also the history of the Jews in Greece.
I think that's so important. It's amazing that you're able to attract 30,000 tourists in a year. I think that's wonderful.
That's why, we managed to get through the entrance fee tickets. We have a small gift shop with books. We do, as I told you before, these events, bar mitzvahs, weddings. These all bring an income to the
synagogue.
To the community.
So do you have for the families who live there, do they have services regularly or everybody gathers for the holidays?
Only for the holidays. Otherwise, there is no minyan. We are not a reform congregation, unfortunately. So we gather, but 20 people, not 20 families, 20 people. We are more or less relatives. So when there is a holiday, we are together anyway, not in the synagogue, but together.
That's very nice. So you said the synagogue's not reform. How does the synagogue identify?
It's not ultra-Orthodox, but it's a conservative synagogue. We still sit separately, the women with the men. We are a conservative synagogue. Otherwise, I could lead the service too if we were reform.
Of course, I'm sure you know.
And we could count women, but we are not.
What other Jewish landmarks exist aside from the synagogue in Rhodes?
Unfortunately, we have somebody that comes from, his mother was a survivor from Rhodes, and he comes during the summer, and we give walking tours in the Jewish quarter. And the other landmarks is only the Holocaust Memorial, who is in the center of the ex-Jewish quarter, where it was the heart of the Jewish quarter. There is a Holocaust Memorial. And of course, the tour includes other buildings that have some historical value for the community.
Very interesting. And what would you say are the strengths of the community in Rhodes? What makes it unique?
The history, it was one of the most important communities there. And also what keeps us is the ties that we have with the people from Rhodes from abroad. Because as I told you, I'm not from Rhodes originally. And the ties, the people that they have, they are maybe second or third generation from Rhodes with the community are very strong. In 14, sorry, it was the commemoration events for the 70 years since the deportation, and we had 600 people coming from abroad to participate to the events. That shows that people are connected with the community, with the island, and that helps us, our existence a lot. Actually, this year we are organizing the commemoration events for the 80 years since the deportation. And we are expecting a lot of visitors.
That should be very nice for people to come and gather for that. Does the community today experience anti-Semitism, or it's too small of a population to get noticed?
From the 25 years that I'm in charge and 40 years that I live in the island, I haven't seen something big. Almost non-existent.
That's good to
In
hear.
the past, when there was a conflict between Israel and Palestinians, maybe for a couple of days you could see, like now also, demonstrations, which is normal, but not any harm or anything else.
What are your hopes for the future of the Jewish community of Rhodes?
I don't know. I think we are always hoping that somebody will always be here and in charge to keep the history going. I don't know if in the future the community can be bigger, which I don't think so. But the museum and the synagogue to keep to still existing, so people can come and know and find out, because sometimes through us they find out about the Jews in Greece in general. They are asking about what's happening to the other communities. That's the only hope I have, because there is nothing more that I can hope for the future.
Well, thank you so much, Carmen, for being here with us today.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation.
Of course, if people would like to donate or support the community, I will leave a link to that in the description below.
Okay, and I can send you some photos if you want from the museum, from the synagogue.
That would be wonderful. Thank you so
Okay.
much.